Hi everyone. I would like to recap the previous lesson on the start of the Korean War. Right? I think it's very important to know that the Korean War certainly has a civil war element because number one, right from the start of the division, you have North Korea and South Korea having leaders who are rash and who, very importantly, desired unification. Right? They wanted unification and they don't mind using force to achieve that unification. So it is very clear that the Korean War has that civil war element because they wanted to use force for unification. The Soviet Union and the Americans were very reluctant to support them militarily. That changed in 1949 when the Chinese and the Soviets became more confident about intervening in the Korean Peninsula because of the Sino-Soviet pact, right? Which promised that both countries will come to each other's aid in times of conflict. So they don't mind intervening in the Korean War, even if it risks a wider conflict with the United States. Um, Another reason why 1949 is the changing point was also because the Soviet Union had developed nuclear weapons and therefore achieved nuclear parity with USA. So from 1949, you have USSR supporting North Korea, not just USSR, the Chinese as well supporting North Korea, resulting in a situation in which the North Koreans was militarily stronger than the South Koreans. What add what add further to their confidence was Americans giving the impression that they're not going to support South Korea. So in the 1950, early 1950s speech by Dean Acheson, the Secretary of State of America, um, there was a defensive parameter that which he mentioned, but um, the defensive parameter did not um, feature Korea, which therefore give the impression that the Americans are not going to come to the rescue of South Korea, right? So all this contributed in a very confident North Korea, uh, very confident North Korea supported by very confident China and the Soviet Union. Therefore, it is very understandable why in June 1950 the North invaded the South. Now, let me recap why the Americans were involved in the Korean War, despite their early reluctance to support South Korea militarily. It was because the Americans were secretly more committed to fight communism. The report, the NSC 68 report, started as a proposal and then later was approved by the president. Um, Proposed that America should triple its defense budget and then meet the Soviet Union militarily using military might to meet their aggressive expansion if that happens. Right? So the Korean War uh, with the North invading the South, that was seen as a Soviet aggression, and therefore the Americans, um, you know, participated in the war. How did the Americans participate in the war? Uh, is interesting. The Americans felt that they should participate in the war, flying the UN banner, right? Apart from um, defending uh, democracy and preventing the spread of communism, the Americans felt that this is very important for them to involve the United Nations because UN's credibility as an international organization for peace will be lost if the United Nations do not take a firm stand on Korea. Um, for the United Nations to issue military sanctions against Korea, you need unanimous approval within the United Nations Security Council. The Soviet Union is a permanent member in the Security Council at the time. However, because they boycotted the Security Council, because UN gave Taiwan a seat for China instead of the People's Republic of China, which is under the communist government, at the Security Council, US boycott, and therefore, as a result of boycotting the Security Council voted unanimously condemning North Korean attack and therefore approved military sanction. Alright. So when the Americans participated in the war, they didn't participate independently, they participated as part of a United Nations peacekeeping operation together with 15 other nations. Of course, the general that led the United Nations effort was is a U.S. General MacArthur. All right. But nevertheless, it's important to note that America entered the war not independently, but as part of a UN peacekeeping force. All right. South Korea, as you know now, is extremely dependent on U.S. leadership. All right, manpower equipment in the fight against North Koreans. So it was only until the U.S. UN backed forces landed at Incheon in September 1950 that they could relieve South Korea from the onslaught by the North. The UN forces were extremely successful and therefore were able to move further into North Korea, pushing the communists all the way north and were inching closer to the North Korean border. Now, the Chinese were extremely alarmed by the development, right? The Chinese Premier Zhou Enlai warned that if the American forces were to cross the 30 parallel, China would intervene, right? China would also warn that it would not hesitate to defend its border, especially if American forces advanced towards the Yalu River. The Yalu River is the river that forms the border between China and North Korea. Why the Chinese saw it with a lot of alarm, a lot of discomfort was because the Americans were supporting Taiwan in resisting communism. So you have the because the Americans were supporting Taiwan, any advancement in Korea, which is another border that China has, will be seen as again an episode of American encroachment into their sphere, right? So it's seen as another American effort to threaten this border. So in October 1950, Zhou Enlai warned the United Nations that any continuation of the war will lead to widening of the conflict. Right? That would suggest that the conflict will worsen, and that would hint that the Chinese would be involved directly if the Americans led UN forces were to continue, pushing northwards. By mid-October, the Chinese had secretly sent troops into North Korea. Now, MacArthur defined Truman's directive, and as well as the UN, by continuing to push towards the Yalu River, right? And as a result, because the Chinese warning were not being hit by both the American forces and UN forces on the ground, the Chinese responded by participating in the conflict, and the wave and wave of Chinese troops being poured through the border caught the UN by surprise. The UN forces had to retreat to the south. With this additional element of massive amount of Chinese troops on the ground, there was many to and fro from that period. By April 1959, both sides, the North Koreans / China and USA / UN, reached a stalemate around the 38th parallel. Both sides were not able to advance significantly more into their opposite sides' territory. Right, there was a balance of force by this time. Truman therefore wanted to limit the Korean War, even if it means saving just South Korea from communism, as opposed to flushing communism on together from the Korean peninsula. MacArthur unfortunately disagreed with Truman. MacArthur is the general on the ground leading the UN forces. He wanted to continue the war and was prepared to invade China. He even wanted to use nuclear weapons. He publicly criticized Truman, something which is which was very unprofessional and even threatened to destroy the Chinese. Truman therefore dismissed MacArthur for insubordination, and he was replaced by Matthew Ridgway. Now, the foreign powers, US, China, and the Soviet, and also the UN, were all ready to talk peace. Right? I think the various foreign powers could see that from the stalemate, they could see from the stalemate that this war uh, is quite is developing quite in a futile manner. Right? Therefore, they wanted to end the war. However, as mentioned before, the war started off as a civil war. North Korea and South Korea did not want to end the war because unification, as they have reached, had not been achieved. Right? Um, Nevertheless, you have the foreign powers pressuring North and South Korea respectively to participate in the talks. The armistice talk. Armistice here refers to ceasefire. South Korea and North Korea participated in the armistice talk in 1951. Uh, it was not easy as different sides have different expectations. The Communist North wanted the division to be at the 30th parallel, and for all North Korean POWs to return to North Korea. UN South Korea, however, wanted the division to be the existing battle lines, which isn't exactly at the 30th parallel, and wanted all North Koreans to be given the choice whether to remain in South Korea or not. Because of this difference, the armistice talk failed. Now, what changed was in 1953, you have a new president, President Eisenhower, replacing Truman, and he very specifically promised to end the war during his election campaign. Also in March 1953, Stalin passed away, and the new leadership was very keen to achieve an agreement to end the war. Eisenhower therefore persuaded Lee to sign the treaty, and he threatened China and North Korea that USA will use nuclear weapons if the communists did not sign. Hence, both China and North Korea were manhandled in the sense to sign, as the war was taking too much toll on the military, and they couldn't bear the consequence of the threat that the Americans had given them. Therefore, the armistice was signed on 27 July 1953. Um, as I'm as we have come to the close of the chapter on the Korean War, it's very important for you to reflect that how did the Korean War started, by the different developments within Korea and outside Korea that led to the Korean War. It's also very important for you to reflect on why the Korean War can be deemed as a civil war, right? Primarily because the war started because of unification, right? And both North and South wanted unification, and they didn't really want to end the war because unification hasn't been achieved. It's also very important for you to think about pointers to why the Korean War has element of proxy war, right? When the Soviet Union and China supported North Korea to invade the South, it wasn't because the Soviet Union and the Chinese hated South Korea. It was about defending and expanding their ideology, the spread of their ideology. Same when the Americans participated in the war, pushing the North Koreans out of South Korea, and then in the beats, in the beat to push communism out of Korea, it wasn't because they hated North Koreans. It was because they want to defend their um, um, democratic ideology, and they want to spread their democratic ideology. All this spreading and defending of their sphere of influence, their ideology, is a typical characteristic of the the Cold War, right, in which both the Soviet Union and America are competing with one another in terms of sphere of influence. They are competing, but not directly through a direct war, but via supporting wars made by their allies, right, their respective allies. Hence, you could see that the Korean War has element of a proxy war.